Here's your report, Ms. Ashford. I timed it perfectly, as always. I slid the folder onto her desk, just as she was taking the last sip of her morning coffee, simultaneously replacing the empty mug with a fresh one. She looked up, gracing me with that signature smile that could light up the entire top floor. Thank you, Logan. You're always so thoughtful. Thoughtful. I'd been hearing that word for 3 years. As a high-level executive assistant, I'd worked for 5 of the biggest hotel conglomerates in the country. The Sovereign Grand, the Apex Collection, Starlight Hospitality, the Summit Group, and now, the Ashford Group. Every single one of them was run by a powerful woman, an absolute titan of the industry. But Claire Ashford was different. She was young, just back from business school overseas to take over the family empire. She had an earnestness about her that the others had traded for boardroom steel years ago. For my first day, I had made a silent vow to myself. I would do whatever it took to help her succeed. Are you free tonight? She asked, pulling me from my thoughts. My heart skipped a beat. I am. What did you have in mind, Ms. Ashford? Please, it's after 5. Call me Claire, she said, a playful light in her eyes as she stood up. It's my birthday, and I was hoping you'd let me take you to dinner. I just stared, completely stunned. In all my years, I had memorized every birthday, every anniversary, every personal detail of my employers, but I had never once been invited to a private celebration. Claire's eyes sparkled. Don't look so nervous. It'll just be the 2 of us. An hour later, I was standing in front of a 3 Michelin-star restaurant, adjusting my tie for what felt like the 18th time in my reflection in the glass door. When Claire appeared in a simple white dress, I nearly bit my tongue. At the office, she was always in a perfectly tailored power suit. Tonight, she looked like the girl next door, vibrant and radiating a warmth that was usually hidden behind a professional veneer. Tonight, I'm not your boss. I'm just your friend, she said, so you can relax. 2 glasses of wine later, the stiff formality between us had melted away. She asked about my past, and I told her everything. How I'd gone straight into being an executive assistant after college, serving the 5 women who ran the country's top hotel chains. So why us? Claire asked, tilting her head. Why the Ashford Group? Because of you, I screamed in my head. The corporate culture at Ashford felt like a better fit for my long-term goals, I said aloud. She laughed, a genuine, beautiful sound. I don't buy it. She gently swirled the wine in her glass, the deep red catching the low light. Logan, I know how you feel about me. My hand twitched, nearly sending my glass tumbling to the floor. Don't panic, she said, a clever glint in her eyes. Because I feel the same way. It was like being struck by lightning. The world went silent except for the roaring in my ears. I love the way you've been there for me these last 3 years. She leaned in closer, her voice dropping to a near whisper. After my dad passed away, you're the only person who made me feel like everything was going to be okay. I don't want to just be your boss anymore, Logan. I want to be your girlfriend. My heart was hammering against my ribs so hard I thought it might break free. I had dreamed of this, had played the scene out in my head 1,000 times, but I never imagined the woman I'd been secretly in love with for years would be the one to say it first. Claire blinked slowly. My birthday party is tomorrow night. Dare to show up as my boyfriend. I took a deep breath, my mind finally catching up to reality. I dare. On the way home, I felt like I was walking on air. My first real relationship at 28, and it was with the woman I adored. The joy was intoxicating, almost indescribable. Then my phone buzzed. I pulled it out to see a few unread texts. From Eleanor Vance, CEO of the Sovereign Grand. I hear you've been spending time with my daughter. From Victoria Sterling, president of the Apex Collection. The new contract is ready. We can sign whenever you're available. From Becca Foster, head of Starlight Hospitality. Logan, guess what? I'm going to be there tomorrow, too. Winky face from Ava Monroe, owner of the Summit Group. Surprise. See you tomorrow. The smile froze on my face. Wait, Eleanor's daughter? When did she have a daughter? Unless Victoria's new contract? I thought she'd handed that whole portfolio over to Claire. Unless Becca's going to be there tomorrow. Where? Unless Ava will see me tomorrow. How would she? Unless a horrifying, impossible thought began to crystallize in my mind. Could it be? Could all 4 of them and Claire somehow know each other? That suit looks incredible on you. I met Claire's eyes in the full-length mirror, my own smile feeling tight and forced. It's not too much. Not at all, she said, stepping forward to straighten my tie. My mom has a thing for men who dress well. My hand flinched. Your mom is coming. Of course. It's my birthday party. The whole family will be there, she chirped. My older sister, my little sister, and my best friend, Ava, too. My stomach plummeted. A tidal wave of dread washed over me. The black car pulled up to the grand entrance of the Ashford flagship, the most opulent five-star hotel in their portfolio. The ballroom was a dreamscape of shimmering crystal chandeliers and a towering champagne fountain. Claire took my arm, and as we entered, every head turned. I need to go say a few hellos. Mingle for a bit, she whispered before melting into the crowd. I grabbed a glass of champagne, forcing myself to take a steadying breath. It's a coincidence, I told myself. You're overthinking it. There are plenty of people in the world with similar names. Well, if it isn't Logan Carter. Fancy meeting you here. The familiar voice behind me nearly made me spill champagne all over my new suit. I turned slowly. A woman in a stunning black evening gown stood there, a smirk playing on her red lips. Eleanor Vance, the matriarch of the Sovereign Grand, and my very first boss. Ms. Vance, good evening. I managed to squeeze out a smile. A flicker of amusement crossed her eyes. I never thought I'd see you here, and I certainly never thought I'd see you as my daughter's boyfriend. My brain short-circuited. Eleanor Vance was Claire Ashford's mother. The world suddenly felt terrifyingly small. Don't look so pale, she said, taking a sip of her wine. I won't tell Claire you used to be my personal assistant. However, she took a step closer, her voice dropping. You're going to tell me what you think you're getting from my daughter. 5 years ago, you left my company to seek better opportunities. It seems you found a much better patron, haven't you? No, it's not like that, Ms. Vance, I stammered. I genuinely care about Claire. Is that so? She purred. And what about that oath of total dedication to your career you swore to me? Have you forgotten? A cold sweat broke out on my forehead. I had said something like that 5 years ago, desperate to earn her trust. 3 months, she said, her voice turning to ice. I'm giving you 3 months. If I find out you're using my daughter, you know exactly what the consequences will be. Eleanor turned and glided away, leaving me rooted to the spot, feeling like I was on trial. I had just started breathing again when I turned and bumped squarely into another all-too-familiar figure. Well, look what we have here. Victoria Sterling, president of the Apex Collection, my second boss, and I now realized with sickening certainty, Claire's older sister, Ms. Sterling. It's been a while. I offered a weak smile. She scanned me from head to toe, her expression dismissive. Jumping from one conglomerate to another, and now you've latched onto my little sister. Your career planning is certainly ambitious. It's not what you think. Save it. Victoria cut me off. I don't care what your game is, but my sister is just getting her feet under her. She needs a powerful ally, not a former assistant. She slid a business card into my hand. My offer is 30% higher than anything Ashford can give you. Come back to Apex as my vice president. What do you say? I stared at the card. You're trying to. It's called poaching. Keep up, she said, raising an eyebrow. My sister is too green to run this company properly. You'd be wise to get out now before you both go down with the ship. I clenched my fist around the card. I'm sorry, Ms. Sterling, but I'm not leaving Claire. Victoria let out a cold, sharp laugh. Naive. Remember, in this world, nobody's hands are clean. Not yours, not Claire's, and not mine. I found a quiet corner and downed a glass of ice water, my head spinning. First, my ex-boss Eleanor, now my other ex-boss Victoria, and they were Claire's mother and sister. This night was a cascading disaster. Please don't let the other two be here, I prayed silently. Logan, a sweet, chirpy voice shattered my fragile hope. I didn't even have to turn around. I knew. Becca Foster, Claire's little sister, the young CEO of Starlight Hospitality and my third boss. She bounced in front of me in a fluffy pink dress, looking even younger than her years. She just graduated from an Ivy League school to take over the family's boutique hotel line and had the relentless energy of a cheerleader. Becca, long time no see, I said, my smile feeling like a grimace. 1 year, 3 months, and 5 days, she announced with unnerving precision. Why didn't you answer my texts, Logan? I sent you 99 of them. Work has been busy, I mumbled. Liar, she pouted. You were ignoring me. If it wasn't my sister's birthday, I'd never get to see you. She plopped down next to me and pulled out her phone. Come on, let's take a selfie. I'm posting it to my story. Don't, I said a little too quickly. I don't think that's a good idea. Why not? She asked, her eyes wide. It's been forever since I've seen my favorite assistant. A chill went down my spine. I glanced across the room and, sure enough, saw Claire looking in our direction with a curious expression. Becca, I'm dating your sister, I whispered urgently. She blinked, then broke into a wide grin. I know. That's why I need to get to know my future brother-in-law. She grabbed my hand. Brother-in-law, you have to help me with my hotels from now on, okay? I pulled my hand back. Becca, stop playing around. I'm not playing, she said, her expression suddenly serious. I know what you're capable of, Logan, and I know you're only with my sister for the Ashford Group's resources. I stared at her, shocked that the bubbly, seemingly innocent Becca could say something so cynical. We could be partners, she continued, her demeanor shifting to that of a seasoned executive. Starlight and Ashford, a joint venture. You'd have access to the resources of two major players. Wouldn't that be better? You're mistaken. I'm with your sister because I love her, I said firmly. Becca burst out laughing, instantly reverting to her carefree persona. Tell me another one. That's what you used to tell me, too. I never... Okay, let's not talk about that, she said, hopping to her feet. She gave me a playful wink. My birthday's next month, brother-in-law. Don't forget to come. Watching her skip away, I felt a migraine forming. Who knew that the 5 women I'd worked for were all part of the same, impossibly powerful family? Getting friendly with the youngest, are we? A sultry voice spoke from beside me, and my posture went rigid. Ava Monroe, the stunning owner of the Summit Group, my 4th boss, and Claire's best friend. Tonight's nightmare reunion was officially complete. Ava, you're here too. It came out as a strangled whisper. Dressed in a knockout red gown, she was a fiery contrast to Claire's pure white innocence. She sat down gracefully, her red lips curving into a smile. You have all the luck, don't you, Logan? My palms were sweating. I don't know what you mean. Oh, you can call me Ava, she purred, leaning closer. After all, I'm Claire's best friend. Her perfume, a scent I had once handpicked for her, now felt like a cruel joke. So I hear you two are dating, she said with a light laugh. You'd think the girl would tell me. I didn't know what to say, so I just nodded. I am curious, though, she said, picking up a flute of champagne. How exactly did you manage to serve 5 different masters? You must be very talented. My face hardened. Ava, you're misunderstanding. My relationship with each of you was strictly professional. Relax, she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. I'm not going to blow your cover. However, her smile vanished. Claire's my best friend. If you're just playing games with her, you need to walk away now. I looked her straight in the eye. I'm serious about Claire. Are you? She said, her tone laced with meaning. And did you tell her about the time you proposed to me? The blood drained from my face. Ava, that was a misunderstanding. I never. Oh, please, she waved a dismissive hand. You were drunk, you got down on one knee, and you told me you wanted to marry me. Can you imagine what Claire would think if she found out about that? Ava, I was drunk. I admit it, but I did not propose. I was just. She cut me off. Fine. I don't feel like exposing you. After all, we have so many. Full memory. I felt like a hand was wrapped around my throat. Have you figured out how you're going to explain all this to Claire? Ava asked, leaning back. She thinks the world of you, you know. She's planning to promote you to general manager. I stared at her, shocked. How do you know that? Oh, you haven't heard? She gave me a mysterious smile. I've been working with the Ashfords for years. My Summit Group is merging into the Ashford portfolio next year. Her motive hit me like a ton of bricks. If Summit merged with Ashford, she will be a top contender for the GM position that Claire apparently wanted to give to me. You want that job? I stated flatly. She smiled without answering. Clever boy. So you're trying to use my relationship with Claire to ruin me and take the position for yourself? Such ugly words, she said lightly. I was hoping we could cooperate. You can keep playing the happy son-in-law. I'll take the real power. It's a win-win, isn't it? I let out a cold laugh. And why would I ever agree to that? You don't have to, she said, standing up and smoothing her dress. I happen to have a recording of that proposal. I wonder what Claire would think if she heard it. She walked away, leaving me sitting there, my heart like a stone in my chest. Just then, Claire appeared, her smile as bright as ever. Logan, what are you doing hiding over here? Come on, I want to introduce you to my family. I stood up stiffly, my mind a battlefield. How was I supposed to navigate this minefield? Claire! She tilted her head. What's wrong? Suddenly, the lights in the ballroom dimmed. A massive birthday cake was wheeled out, and all eyes turned to the center of the room. Let's go, Claire said, taking my hand. I took a deep breath and followed her into the crowd. No matter what, I had to survive tonight. The candlelight flickered across Claire's face as she closed her eyes to make a wish. The room erupted in applause. I stood beside her, my heart pounding a frantic rhythm against my ribs. I could see them all standing nearby. Eleanor, Victoria, Becca, and Ava, all smiling, all casting loaded, knowing glances in my direction. This was a silent declaration of war. Logan, Claire said after blowing out her candles, holding her hand out to me. Everyone, I'd like you to meet my boyfriend. Amid the applause and whistles, I stepped forward, forcing a tight wave. I want to thank Logan for his support and companionship these past 3 years, Claire continued, her voice clear and strong. Without him, I never could have managed the Ashford group so well. She turned to me, her eyes full of genuine affection. And that's why I have one more announcement to make. The room fell silent. Starting next month, Logan Carter will be the new general manager of the Ashford group. The announcement dropped like a bomb. A moment of stunned silence was followed by a roar of applause. I felt like I'd been struck by lightning again, completely blindsided. But what shocked me even more were the expressions on the faces of the 4 women who had just been tormenting me. Eleanor's eyes narrowed into cold slits. Victoria's hand tightened on her wine glass, her jaw clenched. Becca's jaw dropped in disbelief. And Ava took a slow, deliberate sip of her wine, a dangerous glint in her eyes. I knew, in that moment, that I was completely and utterly screwed. Thank you, everyone, Claire announced into the microphone. Please enjoy the rest of the evening. As the music swelled again, I was swarmed by well-wishers, but their congratulations were just white noise. I knew the real storm was just beginning. Congratulations, Mr. General Manager. Eleanor materialized at my side, her voice a low, chilling whisper. It seems your ambition is even greater than I imagined. Ms. Vance, I had no idea. Save it, she cut me off. My daughter is young. She doesn't understand how treacherous people can be. But I do. I see right through you. She leaned in, her voice barely audible. You have 3 days. Resign and walk away from my daughter. Or else. She didn't need to finish the threat. She turned and disappeared into the crowd, leaving me in a cold sweat. I tried to escape to the terrace for air, but Victoria blocked my path. You've got some nerve, Logan, she sneered. I thought you were just trying to marry into the family. I didn't realize you were aiming for the throne. That's not it, Ms. Sterling. Don't bother explaining, she waved her hand. My offer still stands. Vice President at Apex. It's a much better deal than being a puppet GM here. I shook my head. I won't betray Claire. You dare speak of loyalty? She scoffed. Fine. You've chosen your path. Don't say I didn't warn you. She walked away without a backward glance. The weight in my chest grew heavier. I was trapped in a vortex, and it was pulling me under. Brother-in-law. Becca skipped over, her smile saccharine sweet, but her eyes were ice cold. Congratulations, she chirped. I knew you were clever. You're even more impressive than I thought. Becca. No need to explain, she interrupted. I know exactly what you are. But don't worry, I won't tell. We're family now, after all. As she spoke, she reached out and pinned a small brooch to my lapel. A little gift for me. Make sure you wear it. I looked down. It was an intricate 4-leaf clover pin. What's this for? It's special, she whispered, her smile now predatory. It has a built-in microphone. From now on, I can hear every word you say. If you dare hurt my sister, I'll leak every single one of your secrets. I stared at her, horrified. The seemingly innocent Becca was a viper. Don't even think about taking it off, she added with a wink. I'll get an alert if it's separated from you for more than an hour. She bounced away, leaving me frozen in place. Just then, Ava approached, her red dress turning every head in the room. Congratulations, General Manager, she said, raising her glass. It seems we'll be working together after all. I looked at her warily. What do you mean? It's simple, she murmured, her voice a seductive purr. The Summit Group is merging with Ashford. You're the GM. I'm the head of the Summit Division. We'll have to cooperate very closely. Her fingers brushed against my arm, sending an involuntary shiver down my spine. To a fruitful partnership. I knew this was just the beginning. The party finally ended. I followed Claire back to the penthouse suite, emotionally and mentally exhausted. You seemed distracted tonight, she said with concern. Was it because I sprang the GM news on you? I'm sorry. I should have told you first. I forced a smile. No, it's fine. Just a little overwhelmed. Your family was. A lot to take in. They loved you, she laughed. Especially my little sister. She couldn't stop asking me about you. My heart sank. Is that so? By the way, Claire said casually, what were the names of those other hotels you worked at? I know they were on your resume, but I can't seem to recall. My pulse quickened. Just some smaller boutique firms. Nothing worth mentioning. Really, her brow furrowed slightly. I could have sworn I saw the Sovereign Grand, Apex Collection, Starlight Hospitality, and the Summit Group. My hand trembled. How? How did you know that? It was on your resume, she said, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. Funny thing is, all four of those are part of our extended family's holdings. What a coincidence. A bucket of ice water washed over me. I finally understood. You knew all along. She didn't confirm or deny it. I just thought it was interesting that you managed to work for my mother, my older sister, my little sister, and my best friend, and have now ended up as my boyfriend. Isn't that just fascinating? My world crumbled. Were you playing me this whole time? Of course not, she said, her expression earnest. I really do like you, Logan, but I also wanted to know if you really liked me. I didn't know how to respond. I did love her, but I never imagined I was a pawn in a game so elaborate. Just then, there was a knock on the door. Who could that be at this hour? I asked, instantly on edge. Claire just smiled. Probably just family. Why don't you get the door? With a sense of deep foreboding, I walked to the door and opened it. My face went pale. Standing in the hallway were Eleanor, Victoria, Becca, and Ava. Good evening, General Manager, they said in perfect, chilling unison. I stepped aside numbly as the 5 women filed into the suite, each taking a seat as if they were assembling a tribunal. I think you all have some things to talk about, Claire said with a serene smile. After all, you're old friends. I was trapped. So, Logan, Eleanor began, crossing her legs elegantly. I'm dying to know. How'd you do it? How did you manage to serve all 5 of us? I was speechless. Yes, do tell, Victoria added with a sneer. At Sovereign, you were my mother's devoted yes man. At Apex, you catered to my every whim. For Becca at Starlight, you were a shoulder to cry on. And at Summit, you were Ava's most reverent admirer. And now, Becca chimed in, her playful demeanor gone, replaced by a sharp, calculating gaze. What exactly is your angle with my sister? My feelings for Claire are real. I insisted. Oh, Ava raised an eyebrow. Were your feelings for us real too? I felt like I was standing on a cliff edge with no way out. I turned to Claire, pleading with my eyes for some support, but she just watched me, her expression unreadable, waiting. I took a deep breath. It was time to come clean. I did work for all of you, but it was just a job. My feelings for Claire are genuine. I've been in love with her for 3 years. Then why didn't you tell her you work for us? Eleanor pressed. I looked down. I was afraid she would misunderstand. Misunderstand what? Victoria asked coldly. That you're an opportunist who uses his position to climb the social ladder? No, I said desperately. I left each of your companies for legitimate reasons. I never acted inappropriately with any of you. Then why did you tell me you were in love with me? Becca blurted out. I froze. I never said that. Don't deny it, Ava said, pulling out her phone. I have a recording. She pressed play. My own voice filled the room. Love you. I really do. I've never felt this way about anyone before. The blood drained from my face. It was my voice, but it was from a team-building event years ago. I was playing a role in a stupid improv game Ava had set up. You're taking that completely out of context, I said, my voice rising in anger. That was from a game at the company retreat. Was it? Claire finally spoke, her voice trembling slightly. Logan, Is there anything else you've been hiding from me? Her hurt expression was like a knife in my heart. I knew I had hidden things, but my love for her was the one true thing in all of this. Claire, I hid the fact that I work for your family, and I'm sorry. But my feelings for you are real, I said, my voice thick with emotion. I left their companies for professional reasons, and I swear I never crossed any lines. I turned to the other four women. You all know that. I was never anything but professional with any of you. Eleanor, Victoria, Becca, and Ava looked at each other, and then, to my utter astonishment, they all started to laugh. All right, I think that's enough theatrics for one night, Eleanor said. I stared at them, completely lost. What's going on? It was a test, Claire said, walking over and taking my hand. I designed it. A test. I repeated dumbly. She nodded. I had to know if you really loved me, or if you were just using me to get ahead. So, all of you were acting. I looked from one smiling face to another. Not entirely, Eleanor said. You really were our executive assistant. That part is true. But we weren't actually trying to sabotage you tonight, Victoria added. That was all Claire's idea. Becca giggled. How was my performance? Did I make a convincing, obsessed fangirl? Ava elegantly smoothed her dress. We just wanted to see if you would stay true to Claire when faced with threats, temptations, and blackmail. A wave of dizziness washed over me. So the recording? Completely fake, of course, Ava laughed. You think I'd resort to something so crude? I turned back to Claire. How did you know I would pass? I didn't, she said, her eyes shining with sincerity. But I was hoping you would. A huge weight lifted off my chest. So, the general manager position is real, Claire confirmed. You earned that all on your own. I just needed to be sure that the man I chose had integrity and a good heart to go with all that talent. You people, I breathed, shaking my head. You are unbelievable. Well, we should be going, Eleanor said, standing up. Leave you two alone. By the way, Victoria said as she headed for the door, that partnership I mentioned, I was serious about that. There are real synergies between Apex and Ashford. Becca bounced over and unpinned the clover from my lapel. No microphone, just a regular pin. Sorry, Ava was the last to leave. The Summit merger is real, too, but I'll be taking a different role. The GM position is all yours. After they left, the suite was silent. I'm sorry I put you through that, Claire said quietly, but I had to be sure. I shook my head. I get it, but you have to tell me the truth. What is the real story with your family and all these companies? She sat down. The Sovereign Grand is my mother's. Apex is my sister Victoria's. Starlight is Becca's. Summit is Ava's. The Ashford Group was my father's legacy to me. His dream was to unite all five under one umbrella. She looked up at me. And you, having worked intimately at all five, knowing the ins and outs of each operation, were the only candidate who could possibly run it. A sour feeling crept into my stomach. So your interest in me, it was strategic. It started that way, she admitted, but then I actually fell in love with you. Your competence, your integrity, the way you look at me. You can't fake that kind of sincerity. She took my hands in hers. I admit I had an agenda, but my feelings are real, just like yours. I was silent for a moment, then let out a slow breath and smiled. All right, I guess that makes us even. So, will you accept the position and build this empire with me? She asked, her eyes full of hope. I looked at this brilliant, complicated, and wonderful woman and knew there was only one answer. I will, as your general manager and as your boyfriend. She threw her arms around my neck. Thank you, Logan. Just, no more tests, okay, I said with a wry grin. I think my heart can only take so much. She giggled. I promise. Then a thought struck me. Wait, you said your father passed away 5 years ago. How did you know about my work history at the other 4 hotels before I joined Ashford 3 years ago? Claire's smile faltered. Who told you my father died 5 years ago? I frowned. You did. At dinner tonight. You said after your dad passed. I was the only one who made you feel safe. The color drained from her face. Logan, my father passed away last year. We stared at each other. A cold dread, colder than anything I'd felt all night, crept up my spine. Then what did I hear? Just then, the suite door was knocked on again. Who now? I muttered, walking over to it. I opened the door. Standing outside was a distinguished middle-aged man in an impeccably tailored suit, a warm smile on his face. "You must be Walter Ashford," the man said pleasantly. "Claire's father. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Mr. General Manager." I felt like I'd been struck by lightning for the third time. I whipped my head around to look at Claire, whose expression was one of pure, unadulterated shock. "Dad, but you are—" Walter Ashford strolled into the suite as if he owned the place, which I supposed he did. What a coincidence. I returned to the States just in time for my daughter's birthday party. I must say, it was quite a show. Claire and I were frozen, unable to process what was happening. "Dad, last year you—" Claire's voice trembled. "Die." Walter chuckled. "Who on earth told you that?" "Mom." "Ah, your mother," he sighed, shaking his head. "She always did love her dramatic flair. I was just in Africa, scouting new markets and laying low to avoid some messy business rivalries. I finally found my voice. "Mr. Ashford, sir. I'm Logan Carter. I know who you are," he said, his eyes twinkling with a depth of knowledge that was unnerving. "Boyfriend to my youngest daughter, former assistant to my wife, my eldest daughter, my other daughter, and their best friend. And now, the new GM of my company." Sweat beaded on my forehead. "You know all of it?" "Of course," Walter's smile widened. "Because I arranged all of it." Claire and I both gasped. "Dad, what are you talking about?" He settled into an armchair, looking like a king on his throne. "I first noticed you 3 years ago, Logan, back when you were with Eleanor the Sovereign Grand. You were brilliant. I saw your potential, so I made sure you were moved between our various family holdings to get the right experience." "You arranged my career path?" I asked, completely incredulous. "Of course," he nodded. "Did you really think it was a coincidence that you landed jobs at the 5 most interconnected hotel groups in the country? I was pulling the strings all along. My entire professional life felt like a lie. But why? Simple. I needed a successor. Someone who understood every facet of my empire," Walter explained. "You fit the bill perfectly." "And Claire?" I asked. "Did you arrange for me to get close to her, too?" "No." His expression softened. "That was a delightful, unforeseen bonus. Your feelings for each other are genuine. I'm certain of that." Claire was staring at her father, tears in her eyes. "You deceived me. You let me think you were dead." "That was your mother's idea, not mine," Walter said with a shrug. "She thought it was the only way you'd step up and take true ownership of the company instead of relying on me. And tonight's test, I had to know." "The test was Claire's idea," he confirmed. "But I was the one who encouraged it. I wanted a final look at your character, to see if you would hold true when the pressure was on." The full scope of the scheme finally dawned on me. So this entire time, it was all just an elaborate game. Not a game, an audition, Walter said, his tone turning serious. "Logan, I admire your talent, but I value your character more. Tonight you passed. You prove you have loyalty and a good heart to match your skills." Claire was still reeling. Did Mom and Victoria and Becca and Ava know about all this? "Of course," Walter laughed. "They were my co-conspirators. And excellent actors, don't you think?" I had to admit, the entire production was flawless. Every person had played their part to perfection. "So, Mr. Ashford," I asked formally, "have I passed your trial?" "You've exceeded my expectations," Walter said, rising and clapping me on the shoulder. "As of tomorrow, you are the general manager of the unified Ashford Group, responsible for overseeing all 5 brands." I nodded, feeling a surge of gratitude. "Thank you for your trust, sir." "One more thing," he said, looking at Claire. "Your mother and I wholeheartedly approve of this match." Claire, her eyes still wet with tears, ran into her father's arms. "Dad, I hate you." I know," he said, patting her back. "But it was for your own good." Just then, another knock. "You have got to be kidding me," I sighed, walking to the door. Outside stood Eleanor, Victoria, Becca, and Ava, each holding a glass of champagne. "Surprise!" Becca cheered. "Dad's back." "You all knew?" Claire asked, her eyes wide. "Of course," Eleanor smiled. This was the real birthday surprise. "Happy birthday, little sis," Victoria said, raising her glass. "And congratulations on finding a man who actually loves you." Ava came over to me. "Congratulations on passing the final exam, General Manager." Looking at this incredible, infuriating, brilliant family, I finally understood. "All right, since we're all here," Walter said, raising his own glass. A toast to Claire's birthday and to welcoming Logan into our family. Everyone cheered and clinked glasses. The suite, which had felt like a courtroom just minutes before, was now filled with laughter. I looked at Claire, and my heart was so full of love it felt like it would burst. The journey had been a trial by fire, but it had led me here. No more lies, I whispered to her. She gave me a mischievous wink. Unless it's a surprise. 1 month later, I stood looking out the floor-to-ceiling window of my new office, the city spreading out below me. As GM of the Ashford Group, my days were a whirlwind, but I'd never felt more fulfilled. The door opened softly, and Claire came in with 2 cups of coffee. What are you thinking about? Our story. I smiled, taking a mug from her. It's insane. Any regrets? She teased. Not a single one, I said, pulling her close. Meeting you was worth all of it. She leaned her head on my shoulder. Dad wants to host a global hospitality summit next quarter. And, she said, a mysterious glint in her eye, he wants to publicly announce you as his chosen successor. I nearly dropped my coffee. What? I've only been GM for a month. He sees your talent, she laughed. And your character. I took a deep breath. That's a lot of pressure. You won't be alone, she promised. I'll be right there with you. Just then, the office door swung open. It was Eleanor. Logan, we have an emergency, she said, all business. A VIP at the Sovereign Grand is threatening to go to the press over a service complaint. I was instantly in work mode. What's the situation? A foreign dignitary is unhappy with his suite. We've already given him our best. I'll handle it, I said without hesitation. Eleanor nodded, a look of genuine respect on her face. I know you will. As she left, Claire smiled. Looks like my mother trusts you. Your father taught me to put professionals on the job, I replied. Claire suddenly turned serious. Logan, do you ever wonder, if none of this had been arranged, if there were no tests, will we still have ended up together? I looked into her eyes. Yes, I said with absolute certainty. Because no matter what the circumstances were, I would have fallen in love with you. A radiant smile spread across her face. Really, I confirmed. Our meeting may have been arranged, but our love is real. That's all that matters. She stood on her toes and gave me a soft kiss. I love you, Mr. General Manager. I love you too, Miss Ashford. We smiled at each other, the morning sun streaming through the window, bathing us in a golden light. Suddenly, her phone rang. It's Becca, she said, glancing at the screen. She says it's an emergency. I roll my eyes. Not another one of her pranks? Probably, Claire laughed. But she is your future sister-in-law. You should probably see what she wants. I sighed dramatically. Fine, I'll go. As I walked to the door, she called out, Logan, remember, no matter what happens, I trust you. I turned back and gave her a warm, confident smile. I know. Walking out of the office, I felt invincible. There would always be more challenges, more tests, more of this family's delightful madness. But I was no longer afraid. I had found my place, and I had found my love. 6 months later, I was presenting to the board, outlining the successful integration of the 5 hotel brands. The Sovereign Grand has seen a 30% increase in occupancy. Apex's profit margins are up 25%. Starlight has gained significant international recognition, and the Summit Group's rebranding has been a massive market success. The Ashford flagship has broken every previous performance record. The room broke into applause. Walter Ashford nodded at me, his eyes filled with pride. Excellent work, Logan. The Ashford Group is in good hands. After the meeting, I went back to my office. Claire was sitting in my chair, flipping through a photo album. What's that? I asked, wrapping my arms around her from behind. Our pictures, she smiled, pointing to a photo of us on my first day. Look how nervous you were. Time flies, I murmured. It's been 3.5 years since that day. It has, she said, turning to face me. You know, my parents had a talk with me today. About what? Our wedding. I stared at her. Wedding? So soon. She winked. Soon? We've been together for almost a year. In my father's words, you kids drag your feet. We were much more decisive in my day. I sat down, my heart starting to race. And what did they say? My mother thinks you're a rare find. Brilliant, capable, and truly in love with me. The perfect son-in-law, Claire beamed. My father said that if you're going to inherit the company, you need to officially be part of the family first. I laughed. So your dad is still scheming. So, will you? She asked, her eyes sparkling with anticipation. I took a deep breath, and then I dropped to one knee, pulling a small box from my pocket. I was already planning on it. Claire Ashford, will you marry me? She gasped, her hands flying to her mouth as tears welled in her eyes. You already had this? For 2 weeks, I confessed, opening the box to reveal a diamond ring. I was going to ask on your birthday next week, but it looks like your parents beat me to the punch. Yes, of course, I'll marry you, she cried, throwing herself into my arms. I slipped the ring onto her finger, and we held each other tightly. I have one last question, though, I whispered into her hair. That test a year ago, was it really just a test? She pulled back, looking confused. What do you mean? I always felt like your mother, your sisters, and Ava. Their reactions felt like more than just an act, I said hesitantly. Sometimes it felt like they really... Claire's lips curved into a slow smile. Are you asking if they really had feelings for you? I nodded, feeling a little embarrassed. Well, she said, her expression playfully mysterious. Why don't you ask them yourself? Just then, the office door burst open, and walked Eleanor, Victoria, Becca, and Ava, each holding a bouquet of flowers. We heard there's going to be a wedding, Eleanor announced with a broad smile. I nearly jumped out of my skin. How do you all? It's a big company, Victoria smirked. News travels fast. Becca ran over to us. Brother-in-law, congratulations. You're finally making it official. Ava placed her flowers on my desk. Our sincerest blessings to you both. I looked from them to Claire, a familiar sense of suspicion creeping in. You're all planning something again, aren't you? The 4 women exchanged a look, and then Eleanor spoke. Logan, there's one last truth we need to tell you. I tensed. What is it? A year ago, she began slowly. It wasn't entirely an act. My heart stopped. What do you mean? Victoria continued. We were helping Claire and her father test you, yes. But for each of us, our expressed interest in you had a kernel of truth to it. Becca nodded earnestly. I really did admire your kindness and thoughtfulness, Logan. Ava smiled faintly. Your professionalism and strategic mind are genuinely impressive. I looked at them, then back at Claire, who was just smiling calmly. You knew. She nodded. I've always known, but I've also always trusted you. And us. Eleanor stepped forward. We all admire you, Logan. Greatly. But we also respect Claire's choice. From this day forward, you are one of us. Family. Whatever happened in the past stays there, Victoria added. We're all on the same team now. Becca threw her arms around both of us. My brother and sister are getting married. Ava raised an imaginary glass. A toast to love. I looked at this insane, incredible family, and my heart swelled with an emotion so powerful it almost overwhelmed me. The past was complicated, the future would be a challenge, but I had found my home. Thank you, I said, my voice thick. Thank you for accepting me. Claire leaned her head on my shoulder. Welcome to the madness. Walter Ashford appeared in the doorway, taking in the scene with a satisfied grin. It seems the good news is out. He walked over to me and clapped me on the back. From today, you're not just my son-in-law, but my heir. Take good care of Claire, and take good care of our legacy. I looked at him and nodded, my voice firm. I will, Dad. Walter roared with laughter. Excellent. It's settled then. Next month, we'll throw the biggest engagement party this city has ever seen. The room erupted in cheers. Looking around at all of them, at the chaos and the love and the power all intertwined, I felt a profound sense of peace. From a simple assistant to the confidant of 5 powerful women, and now the GM and heir to their empire. My journey had been anything but ordinary. Claire squeezed my hand. Any regrets, Logan? I looked down at her, my incredible, brilliant, beautiful fiancée. Not a single one. Meeting you was the luckiest day of my life. Outside the window, the sun was shining, illuminating our crazy, wonderful family and the bright future that lay ahead. End.